That's a pretty cool call, grunt tube.
It's a pretty great grunt tube actually. This is my new Wild Frenzy bugle, and you know, there's so many bugle tubes on the market to choose from. People are often asking, how do we know what bugle tube that we want to use and what is the difference? Because they all kind of look the same, but they're not.
You know, you've got your little tubes similar like this one here, and they're good for packing. You know, they're easy to pack, they're small. But you don't get the realistic sounds out of them. They sound like a younger bull, and which is fine to a certain point. But what happens if that bull doesn't care about a little bull? He wants to hear a bigger one that may be a threat to him.
Absolutely.
So you got to get into your bigger tubes, and when it comes to your bigger tubes, they all make, the bigger they are, the better the sounds they have.
Absolutely.
They're more awkward to carry. And we tried to keep the tubes to where they are easy to carry, out of the way, and lightweight too. This particular call of yours has inside the mouthpiece, it's a little bit, kind of a medium-sized mouthpiece, but inside is a spring, and that spring is what we call the VET system, Volume Enhanced Tone Technology. The spring inside enhances the volume 25%. It also stabilizes the note changes, your octave changes. It increases intensity on your high screaming notes so you can get away with those challenge calls, and they're there in a vicious emotional change. It also creates correct back pressure to make the diaphragm in your mouth work a lot easier.
And what he means by back pressure, if you were to blow inside a paper towel roll, for instance, and just blow in it, the air is going to escape out of your diaphragm and through that paper towel roll very, very quickly, and you become breathless.
Yes,
like you run out of air. With this tube is designed to create a back pressure from the inside, which helps you retain that air in your diaphragm so you can extend those notes for a longer period of time without breathlessness.
You know, and also on your tube here, it has what we call the selector.
Exactly.
You can turn that dial to where the little holes are shut down, and that makes less volume. So if you want a bull to think you're further away than what you really are, shut that down.
Shut it down and make it sound smaller.
Make smaller sound out. When you open it up halfway, it becomes like a satellite bull. If you want to open it all the way up, then you got more volume to make it sound like a herd bull.
Gives you a lot of diversity, a lot of realism, and in a much smaller profile. But let's look at where this kind of tube was born from, which is the Bully Bull tube.
Bully Bull. The Bully Bull is a bigger tube. Has a lot more depth in the sound, the chamber sound. It's got a little more volume to it. Has the same selector on the end, but it is longer.
You can see the difference.
And it doesn't have the spring technology in it. So it's just this is the basic original tube we come out with, and it's a great tube. People were wanting smaller tubes to carry with the same volume. So by adding that spring technology and the selector on the end of that, we're coming up with a tube that sounds pretty darn close to the big tube.
Without the size.
We also have a brother to the Wild Frenzy called the Threat. The Threat just doesn't have the selector on the end. For guys that don't feel they need something to select the sounds, it has a little different tone quality to it, but it has a spring technology too. Same length tube.
So same length of tube, just without the selector on the end.
Yep. And then you go into people that have a little bigger mouth, lips and stuff. They need a bigger opening. So we have the Bully Bull Extreme, which this mouth opening is a lot bigger. Some people like to do their lip balling
in the tube.
And that helps do that. This tube is really got some great sounds to it. This piece has got a Venturi taper inside to create back pressure, but the Bully Bull Extreme is really a famous tube. It's won a lot of competitions, and it's got some great sound in it.
So what about the guys that can't use a diaphragm? They have a gag reflex, they don't know how to use a diaphragm, they don't want to bugle with a diaphragm. We have the bite system.
And this is what we call the Conquer mouthpiece. And it goes on a little tube, and we also have a bigger tube called the Selectable. And it's basically got a false tongue that goes against the latex for you, so you don't have to put your own lip or your own tongue against it. You still can, and it works. You got 3 different ways to make this call work now, either with a false tongue, your own tongue, or your own lip.
All right, let's get a demo on this. So if you can't use a diaphragm, the Conqueror mouthpiece is what you want to look for, and that's available in the selectable
And the
packable as well. I hope this answered all of your guys' questions on how to select the right bugle tube for your application, and check out the Wild Frenzy Bugle Tube by Rockie Hunting Calls.